Lovely to see you. So, I'm not going to say suburban footy was kind of slightly above suburban footy, but not quite. The Fitzroy Lions took on the Elizabeth Eagles this weekend and they beat them 516 points to nil. Surely there should be a mercy rule at 82 goals. When do you cancel a game? When do you say we're not playing the fourth quarter?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm not sure if everyone showed up for Elizabeth, but we're in the right division. But yeah, you hate to see that kind of stuff. I guess it's at the senior level at least, but yeah, in junior sports, it definitely wouldn't be kosher. There definitely needs to be a mercy rule, but that's kind of where we're at with some of these divisions and sports. There's just so many of them these days that you just can't filter out competitions.
Now, of course, right now there's all sorts of basketball being played around the world. A lot of focus right now on the NBA finals. New York Knicks, I'm rather excited, but we don't get too excited. I'm not one of those idiots. I'm still surprised they're going okay, and I'm pretending it's not happening. But we'll see what happens. But what about the bloke who says that he's not going to answer questions unless people subscribe to his podcast?
Yeah, Patrick Beverley, real interesting one. He had a real horror night. He actually threw a ball at a fan. Ball went in the crowd. They threw it back out. He threw it back at him twice behind their bench.
Wow.
And then went on to follow on to that interview that you're talking about, where an ESPN reporter asked him a question. And he asked if she subscribed to his podcast. She said no, and he said, "You can't ask me any questions then." I think he was trying to be tongue-in-cheek, but there was no apology given. So it's horrible. He's a really gritty, tough role player. That's just, I don't think he's done himself any favors over the last couple of years with his mouth. And I think ESPN have since said that he will no longer, he's basically suspended from any of their shows, which hurts his media brand because he's close to retirement. So kind of backfired for him.
Yeah, 100%. Also, let's talk about referees. I admire people who want to go and be referees. Certainly, my brother-in-law, g'day Danny, was always into it from a teenager all the way through to today, right? That was how he kept fit, and that was how he was able to get close to the sport that he loves. But the abuse is nuts. It's happening all the time. But now, as we're trying to get, more teenage women and teenage girls and then adult women to get involved, the abuse just is wild at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, look, it is. I mean, I've got two young kids in junior sport, and the fella on the PA at the stadium we play at is always reminding parents not to yell at referees, and he's usually kicks out a couple every weekend from abusing either coaches, players, or if happens at the senior level. Look, I think there's a line where you want to train your officials to be able to accept criticism, know that a player might fire up at him, barring not including abuse, but a bit of talking like, "Well, how'd you call that?" And then you let them calm down, and if they continue on, you give them a technical foul, or in footy, a 50-metre penalty, or whatever it is, a penalty. But there is a line on abuse. As soon as it becomes abusive, and it's directed directly at a referee, I think you have to address it harshly. But I think we've got the balance wrong. I think the AFL went real crazy with their what was the wording there? I can't remember the wording they used, but to disrepute or something like that, and they'll hand out 50-metre penalties like lollies, and now you've got the other side where they're probably letting too much. So there's a fine line, and good referees usually will allow you to engage with them and maybe have a blown fuse for 10, 15, 20 seconds, and then if you keep going, they'll penalise you. So it goes both ways, but yeah, you got to draw the line completely on any abuse.
And just quickly, in your career, when you felt it bubbling up, what did you do?
Oh man, I get a technical foul usually, but yeah, look, it's tough. Look, and then I had referees that I really respected that would engage in you. You could go up to them and say, "Hey, how did you call that? What did you see?" And they'd actually engage. The ones that really got on my nerves were the ones that wouldn't even talk to you, and I'd usually get a technical foul. But look, it's the age-old, try to walk away, try to count to 10, but it's a passionate game. We're human beings. We make mistakes as players, so do referees. You just want to have a good relationship there, but sometimes there's players and refs that have had a history, and all that kind of stuff comes into play. So it is hard, and both jobs are tough. Players have it tough because they're under pressure for contracts and playing time. Referees have it tough because people are booing and yelling at them all game long. There's always one side of a team that's strictly unhappy with the refereeing. So it's kind of a thankless job, in my opinion.
Good stuff. Nice to talk to you. We will talk. Yeah, correct. All right, we will talk again. In the meantime, lots of basketball on the Rogues Bogues podcast. There's lots to talk about and a whole lot more. Thank you, mate.